ولد بريطاني انتزع قلب عجوز بعدما طعنه وشرب من دمها. هناك ناس مهووسون بمص دماء كبار السن.
وهؤلاء وحوش على شكل بشر.
The main theme in most of the Arab media is hostility to Israel and the United States and the West. In the Arab media, there is a process of demonizing Jews and the West.
There is widespread use of this theme portraying Israel and the United States as Satan, and this is an integral part of Arab Islamist propaganda.
الشيطان مغرور الشيطان يحتل الأوطان بسلاح الطغيان. إنه الشيطان منبع الطغيان. إنه الشيطان منبع الطغيان.
After 9/11, a lot of people in the West asked, why do they hate us? And some of them even started blaming themselves, and looking what could America have done.
There were numerous examples in American academia and media after 9/11 that placed the blame of 9/11 on American imperialism around the world. The message was, these people must be suffering so much if they're willing to blow up the World Trade Center.
And they started saying, what could have we done to make them so angry at us? Is it our foreign policy? Is it us? What did we do?
From the Western eyes, that seems very logical. Why would someone go blow up the World Center? Now, this message was given in academia, was given in a significant part of the media, and it is unfortunate because, again, it is distracting the population from the real source of the problem, which is an ideology which wants to destroy the West.
It's their duty to go jihad.
This clip was broadcast on Palestinian TV the day after London suffered 4 suicide terror attacks.
واهلك الكفار والمشركين أعداءك أعداء الدين اللهم احصهم عددا وقتلهم بددا ولا تغادر منهم أحدا.
The amount of hate propaganda is far more extensive and pervasive than the attention it has received from Western media.
If you want to get people to fight, you have to make them think that there's a threat and then they're in danger.
آمریکا در کمین نشستند و تا نابودی کاملتان از شما دست بر نخواهند داشت. سریعا قیام کنید که جهان ایمن از فریاد نیست.
This is an integral part of Islamist propaganda.
It recruits a lot of terrorists.
That's the purpose of the Islamist propaganda, is to make the people angry, hateful against the West, to be able to fight them.
وشعارنا الذي رفعناه ولا نخشى أن نكرره في كل عام الموت لأمريكا.
In a television interview, an Arab intellectual admits that there is a distinct connection between propaganda and terrorism.
أنا بقول إن فضائياتنا ينطبق عليه ما يسمى إعلام الإرهاب. نعم. تروج طروحات تعصبية، يعني قد لا يكون إرهاب مباشر بس تروج تعصب والتعصب هي بداية العنف والعنف هو اللي يؤدي للإرهاب. يعني هو التعصب تطرف عنف إرهاب.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Brother Mercy. Well, no, we don't have the time for error. Brother Mercy, step up over the original shape error. Alongside the source of our food. Yeah, man, show them the fire. Yeah, we're on the fire. They was just on the place. They must have a tickle bar. They were built the bush. They must have a tickle bar. The national front. They must have a tickle bar. Throw them in the fire. We say, some kind of hot drama, now we come star. Peace to Hamas and the Hezbollah. OBL, baby, like a shining star. Like the way we destroy them through power. Ha ha.
On 9/11, the destruction of the World Trade Center, there was a general response in the Muslim world of delight. With the Palestinians, perhaps the most extravagant.
2 weeks before 9/11, the Mufti of Palestine, Ikram al-Sabri, who's the senior religious figure in the Palestinian Authority, on the radio openly prayed for God to destroy Israel, Britain, and the United States. And you hear the same message over and over and over again.
ضربة ربانية ستكون لأمريكا ولإسرائيل عن طريق.
It becomes part of the way you see the world.
وسوف يفرح المؤمنون بنصر الله. ونقول إن كثيرا يدرسون المصحف الكريم كتاب الله فجر غادرون.
But hatred for the West is not limited to the Islamic world. Radical Islam has for years been spreading its ideology in the West. This jihad rally is taking place on the streets of London.
The infiltration of radical Islam is so deep, it's shocking. And everyone's in denial about it. The minute you say, oh, this is an extremist group, you know, all of a sudden, it's, oh, you're not being politically correct.
You have a Muhajirun, who's an open-fledged terrorist entity, speaking out on the streets, calling for Muslims to jihad against Britain.
We've been infiltrated by people who want the Quran to replace our constitution.
أنا رحت سنة 95 لقيت خطب بتقول إن هم منطلقين للبيت الأبيض خلاص من المساجد، من بعض المساجد.
يعني إيه منطلقين بالضبط؟
يعني كان واحد بيقول في خطبته إن إحنا ذاهبون دلوقتي إلى البيت الأبيض علشان إن شاء الله ينتصر الإسلام ويتحول البيت الأبيض إلى البيت المسلم.
يعني هيروح يحتل البيت الأبيض يعني ولا؟
لا، بسواد الإسلام وأفكاره سوف يتغير البيت الأبيض.
Hamas has the largest infrastructure of all terrorist organizations on American soil today.
They are not trying to be part of the American way of life. They are not trying to be part of our culture. They are here with an agenda to make Islam the law of the land.
Just to show where our loyalty belongs to. You see this flag here? It's going to go on the floor. And to us, our loyalty does not belong to this flag. Our loyalty belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
Of course, not all Muslims are like that. But we've been infiltrated with this kind of agenda. And America has to wake up because we are strangling ourselves with our political correctness.
there was tremendous deception in terms of saying one thing publicly and another thing privately. Yasser Arafat obviously was the master of this dual agenda in terms of openly supporting pluralism or nonviolence or condemning terrorism.
I condemn completely these terrorist activities.
And then secretly or behind closed doors supporting it.
Sometimes you will find a Muslim who appears to be moderate.
We were the first, as you may remember, post September the 11th, who said that the actions of flying planes full of innocent civilians into buildings is not legitimate.
But in his deeds, he's not as moderate as he is.
We are here to talk about the Magnificent 19. Those who 2 years ago today split the world into two camps, into the camp of Islam and the camp of non-Islam or Kufr. Those who revived the obligation of jihad worldwide.
The Magnificent 19. They were praising the hijackers, celebrating the attacks on New York.
The deception is so high and so successful that homophobia was about.
In order to expose British terror groups like Al-Mawjaroon and supporters of Sharia, Glenn Jambi collaborated with Jonathan Galt and acquired recordings of the group's meetings held in London mosques. The tapes reveal open incitement to violence and terror, in particular from Abu Hamza al-Masri, who calls upon followers to kill the kuffar, or non-Muslims.
Abu Hamza, in one of the clips, is talking about the word kufar, that if you're not Muslim and you live in a Muslim land, you are like a cow. That's his word.
You see, the Islamic Muslim, if a Catholic goes to a Muslim country and he's walking by, he's like a cow, but anybody protects him. That is the Islamic rule, and this is the opinion of the Fuqaha. It's not my opinion. You read the books of jihad, you'll see.
You can take him to market, you can sell him.
Kafir is walking by, he went inside the question, what are you doing here? Then he's a good, you can sell him the market.
You can kill it.
If Muslims cannot take him to the and sell him in the market, then you just kill him. It's okay.
Always as a speaker, he brainwashes people. He gets funded, he sends them to commit murder abroad.
Al-Mawjaroon is a UK-based Islamic pressure group with offices in Pakistan. 25-year-old Abdul Salam grew up in London's Brick Lane. Now he's a recruiter for the Taliban.
What's your involvement in recruiting and training young British Muslims?
Well, the Muslims from Britain, hundreds of them come over from Britain to Pakistan, to Afghanistan. And what we do is we supply them with weapons, clothing, we feed them, we shelter them.
Yeah, I'm British born, British bred. Are you willing to kill British soldiers? I'm willing to kill British soldiers simply because of the fact that they're engaging in a war that is against my brotherhood.
The links from the UK go abroad and back. This is what makes it a global problem. If you take the London bombings, the bombers were from the city of Leeds, a few-hour drive north of London. British Muslims were British.
I and thousands like me have forsaken everything for what we believe. We are at war, and I'm a soldier. Now you too will taste the reality of this situation.
We are living with them. They are here. They're not outside our borders, they are here.
So when you ask, is radical Islam a threat to Europe? Of course it is, because you find this large and growing minority population that is growing more and more radical and rejects more and more blatantly, overtly, and stridently the societies in which they operate. They are using our laws against us. They are using our democracy against us. And they know it. They know exactly what they're doing. When you think just from a military perspective, forgetting everything else, the September 11th hijackers trained for their mission to attack the United States inside the United States of America. That is something unbelievable. Here are these 19 Arab Islamic fundamentalists come to the United States, dress like Americans, get American driver's license, register in American flight schools, and in American flight schools, they learn how to destroy the World Trade Center with American jetliners. That is an unbelievable thing. That means that you don't need necessarily to have geographical territory at your disposal, because you can use the geography, use the territory of your enemies in order to destroy your enemies. That is the most postmodern type of warfare we've ever seen.
I think the world, despite the number of attacks in various countries, is still in denial. They don't want to believe that someone has declared war on them.
In the 1930s, the danger of Nazism was there. It was in everything Hitler wrote and said, in everything the Nazi authorities did. In the corruption of a whole generation of German youth through the propaganda of Nazism in schools. But people thought, well, this is a German problem, it's a limited problem. We have our own problems, we have our unemployment. And I think the same is true today. They don't connect the dots. They don't connect the acts together. They don't see that Islamic fundamentalism is a global network and a global problem.
There is no terrorist threat. There is no terrorist threat. Yes, there have been horrific acts of terrorism, and yes, there will be acts of terrorism again. But that does not mean that there's some massive terrorist threat.
We have to worry about terrorism. If terrorism had struck on the West Coast rather than the East Coast, some of the folks in Hollywood might have a somewhat different view.
People don't want to feel that this is part of a single threat. Because if you come to that conclusion, and I'm sure it's the true conclusion, then you have to do something about it.
If you ignore a real threat, like has happened in the past before World War II, then the world will pay with many, many millions of dead.
In Second World War, the West was sleeping. The Munich Accords came to regarding what should we do about this Adolf Hitler who wants to take over Czechoslovakia. So what did the parliament do in Great Britain? They got together and they said, well, we need to give Hitler land for peace.
In return for Hitler's guarantee of world peace, Chamberlain and Deladje prevailed upon Czechoslovakia to give up the Sudetenland without a fight. In Britain, a happy Chamberlain came back declaring he had achieved peace. Peace in our time. One of the most tragic and ironic scenes in all history.
This morning, I had another talk with the German Chancellor, Herr Hitler. And here is the paper which bears his name upon it as well as mine.
Chamberlain.
And what happened after that? Did Hitler abide by the agreements? No. And they're making the point we need to understand what's happening in the world today from the extreme Muslim terrorists as well. All right, do you have any questions about anything on your quiz?
On number 6, it says, what is the second book of Muslims? And I put Quran, and then in notes it says second book of Muslims.
Yeah, Quran's the right answer.
You heard it.
Oh, yeah, I accidentally I put C on it and it was correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is correct. Any others? Okay, I will collect those back from you. Test tomorrow over the making of medieval Europe, the areas over which we've had 2 quizzes.